Hello, so today we have my sister,
Karina.
and what do you think and I'm going to be teaching you a lesson today. Do you have any idea what that lesson is going to be about?
Will it be about weather?
How did you know?
Cause
Just a lucky guess?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any idea what climate change is?
I have no idea what climate change is.
So, I'm going to ask you some definitions, and I'm going to see if you know them. So, do you know what weather or climate is?
Weather is what's outside.
And do you think you know what climate is?
I don't know what climate is.
So, weather refers to the local conditions on a scale of minutes, hours, days, and months and years. Weather can also dramatically in the location day to day. For example, like outside, it's rainy today. Tomorrow, it could possibly be sunny. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so crazy.
So, do you know what climate is? You said no, right?
Yeah, don't know what climate is.
So, climate is an average of weather conditions over 30 years or more.
Wow.
So, that represents the average weather over a long period of time. So, basically, that's what it was saying is 30 years ago, the weather could have been completely different, but over the past 30 years, the weather could have been drastically different, causing the climate to be different now.
Wow.
Right? So do you want to know what the difference between them is?
Yeah.
So the difference between climate and weather is only temporary, while climate is a few more than cool and warm days. The typical weather conditions in the same region for about 30 years.
Wow.
That's so long, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to read you a quote. It's kind of like an example so you could remember this for the future, okay? So, Climate is your wardrobe, while weather is your outfit of the day. Do you have any idea what that means?
It means what I'm wearing now is the weather, and climate is my closet.
So, kind of like that. So, I'm going to explain it to you so you can remember this. So, in your wardrobe, you have the same clothes all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, that's basically like climate. Climate is your wardrobe because you have the same clothes in your closet every
Oh.
single day. And weather is like your outfit because you don't wear this outfit all the time, and I don't wear this outfit all the time, right?
Yeah.
So you change. So weather is like the outfit of the day because you have different outfits that you wear every single day, right?
Yeah.
So, do you want to know how they studied climate in the past?
Yeah.
So, do you know what they used 10 to 50 years ago? Any hint? Do you want me to give you a hint?
Yeah.
It starts with the S. It's a very big word.
Symmetrical?
No, silly. So I'm going to tell you what they use. So they use this thing called speleograms. They measured the concentrations of 13C and 18O in stalagmites. So they could see past El Nino events and hurricanes. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, especially hurricanes.
I know. So do you want to guess what they used 100 years ago? It's two words, and the first letter starts with an I, and the second starts with a C.
Isolation.
So I'm going to give you one more hint. You like to eat ice cubes, right? The first word starts with ice. Can you guess the second word?
Ice. I don't know the other word.
Okay, so they use this thing called ice cores. They measure concentrations of gases in ice and melted water. High levels of CO2 found in ice cores indicate warmer climate in the past, whereas ice ages accompany decreases in CO2.
Wow.
Right, so can you guess what they used 1,000 years ago?
1,000 years ago?
It's something right outside of our window. What is that?
Rain?
No, a tree.
There's
So they use
trees.
this thing called tree rings. So tree rings can be studied because they use really old trees, because really old trees have rings dating back hundreds of years, sometimes up to thousands. Looking at the size of the ring, scientists can tell how wet or dry the climate was during different years. So let's say we chopped off that tree. They could tell what the weather was 1,000 years ago by the rings, because if it was dry or wet. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So let's guess what they use 600 600,000 years ago? You want to guess? 600. You want to guess?
Is it global warming?
No, silly. They use this thing called seafloor sediment. So seafloor sediment measured concentration at 18O in shells of microorganisms. And when scientists find high 18O levels in seafloor sediment, they know that the water was cool in the past. So in the ocean, they use the floor in the ocean to see how it was. So if the water was cold, that's how they knew if the water was cold or very hot back then.
Wow.
So let's bring it back to 55 million years ago.
That's so long ago.
What do you think they used? So what do we use to find dinosaurs?
Fossils?
So what do you think we used 55 million years ago?
Fossils?
Good job!
Yay!
So fossils, there's many different types of fossils. You have pollen types, leaves, animal body adaptations, and by studying fossils, scientists can learn how animals have adapted to changing climates. Crazy, right?
Yeah, I think the dinosaurs had to die because the habitats were changing a lot.
Really? Good observation. Good. Way to pay attention. So, what do you think we're going to be using in the future? Like 10 to 50 years into the future. What do you think we're going to use?
A lot of technology.
That's a good guess.
To find out what types of fossils lived long ago.
Yeah. That's a good guess. So we're going to actually be using climate patterns.
Whoa.
Yeah. So after this part of the lesson, what do you think global climate change is?
Global climate.
I'm gonna give you a guess. It was very warm this weekend, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think global climate change is?
It could be like global warming happening more and more.
So the temperature increasing, right?
Temperature increasing as the ice go down.
Yes. So global climate change is a gradual increase in average global temperature, like you said. So do you know what the causes of global climate change are? Some causes.
Cars, global warming, and long showers.
That's very good. Plate tectonic, orbital changes, human activity, and volcanic activity. Basically what you said, human activity, we use cars, that's not helping the air, right?
No.
It's making it hotter. So, do you know by any chance what the greenhouse effect is?
The greenhouse effect might be good things going into the atmosphere.
That's a very good answer. So, the greenhouse effect is when the heat from the Earth's surface is stopped by escaping into space by greenhouse gases and gets its energy from the sun. Global warming is a long-term heating of Earth's climate and an increase in average temperature. So, for example, let's say I'm shooting these things. Let's say, for example, I'm shooting hot air into the atmosphere. That's what's keeping our Earth warm. So, without this, what is our Earth going to be?
Very hot.
Very cold without it, right?
Yeah.
Very cold. So that's why we need this. We need it because it'll keep our Earth nice and warm, right?
Yeah, for us to live.
So do you know what some greenhouse gases are?
Carbon dioxide.
That's one of them. Good job. So it is carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, nitrous oxide, and ozone.
Wow.
That's a lot, right?
So much for just one greenhouse.
So, ready for this? So, as the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere increase, the temperature increases. So, what happens if we don't have a lot of greenhouse gases? What happens to the temperature?
It gets cold.
Good job.
Really cold.
So, how do greenhouse gases get into our atmosphere?
They get in by a big hole in the house.
No, silly. They actually the greenhouse gases get into our atmosphere by burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and human activity. So, what are some examples?
Of human activity?
Yes.
Littering, carbon dioxide, using cars,
showers, right?
long showers, and
polluting as well.
Polluting and leaving the lights on for way too long if you don't need them.
Good job. So, this is the final question. Why do you think we study climate change?
Because to know if if the amount of global warming would soon melt all the ice and flood our world?
That's a very good answer. So we study past climate change so the scientists can see if there's any similarities or to see if there's been a big drastic change in the climate over the past 30 years. They also study climate change to see if what we are going through now has ever happened in the past. So, for example, if what's happening now, it's getting very hot, right?
Yeah.
It's been hot for a couple of years in the winter, right?
Yeah.
They could use the past, like the past 30, to see 30 years ago if this happened, 30 years ago, 60 years ago, to see if this is a
I
current
don't
thing.
think it happened.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I'm going to ask you one more question. What did you learn throughout this lesson?
I learned about weather, climate, global warming, the greenhouse effect.
Good job. So, did you have fun?
Yes!
Say